School is winding down for another year, but we continue our look into the state requirement schools buy and outfit their fleets with zero-emission school buses. And helping them do that is the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority. You probably know him better as NYSERDA. Joining us now, Nina Heyman, who's the Clean Transportation Program Manager at NYSERDA. Good to see you. Thanks for being with us, Nina.
Thanks for having me.
Let's start with one of the bigger issues that I've heard from taxpayers, school leaders, cost. And NYSERDA can help with this. How?
Sure, and thanks again for having me on to discuss this issue. So just as sort of background, we really look at school bus electrification as a critical way for the state to meet its climate goals, but also to address real air quality concerns and public health impacts, especially on students. So with that as background, I'll say that right now, electric school buses do cost more than diesel and gasoline buses. And so NYSERDA is helping districts sort of close that gap via the New York School Bus Incentive Program. We're offering $500 million via that program to help districts purchase the buses and the chargers. And, for the buses, the cost is meant, the NYSBIT funds are meant to offer really up to 100% of that cost difference between a diesel bus and an electric school bus. And as well, they help cover chargers and the associated infrastructure that has to come with the chargers.
Okay. Are there multiple funding sources? So if NYSERDA gives a district some money, can they find money other places to help, bring that gap down even more, where there may not be any difference between a diesel and in many cases electric now bus?
Yes, emphatically yes. Good question. So NYSBIP alone could potentially zero out that cost difference. But yes, we encourage and allow stacking of incentives. So, for example, the EPA Clean School Bus Program is putting out $5 billion across the country. New York State has done very well in the first 3 rounds of EPA Clean School Bus funding applications. So we allow the stacking of EPA funds and NYSBIP funds. In addition, districts are able to get additional incentives and cost assistance from their utilities via the Make Ready programs. And also the IRS is giving out or provides tax credits both for the vehicles and for the infrastructure. So you can stack all of those to definitely equalize the 2 costs of the vehicle types.
That's good to hear.
And in addition, I should note that it actually costs less to maintain and operate an electric school bus than a diesel or gasoline bus. And so over the lifetime of the vehicle, the electric school bus is less expensive to maintain.
Let me ask you this one. We talked a lot about funding there. Technology has been an issue that some superintendents worry about, especially the impact of cold on electric bus batteries. Anything you can kind of help educate them, I guess, on this issue, how much the cold does or even the heat affect them?
Yeah, definitely. So electric school buses, it's true, they don't run as well on a really cold day, same as a diesel bus, but they are definitely still able to operate. There's electric school buses in operation across the country, in Montana and North Dakota. There's hundreds up in Quebec, which is every bit as cold as it is here, if not colder. So what we say, your buses cannot go as far on a freezing cold day as they can on a day like today, but they're still able to make the trips. So what we're seeing is the average New York State school bus travels about 80 miles a day. The average, the electric school buses that are currently available on the market today can travel 100, 200, even more miles on a single charge. So even on a cold day with diminished capacity, these buses are able to make many, many of these routes that are out there that are currently in existence in New York.
Okay. I'm going to try to have you do it in quickly. About recharging, because there's some concern too where there's stacking routes one right after another, the ability to kind of recharge these batteries quickly. Is that possible?
Yes. So we're really encouraging every district to partner up with an engineering firm and create a fleet electrification plan. And NYSERDA pays for all or most of the cost of those plans. And in an FEP, what you do is you actually look at your exact routes. How many miles are they? What time do they run? What's your terrain? What's your weather? To help figure out what your charging needs are. What we see is almost 96% of districts around the state outside of New York City come back to the depot overnight where they can charge overnight. But there are some situations where districts do need to do midday charging and you buy faster chargers, which you can determine by doing your FEP. So it's a mix of sort of overnight charging and daytime charging, but it definitely is possible.
Gotcha. Nina, I said we'll never get to everything. This is a first blush at it. You're welcome back anytime. Let's do this again.
Great. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Nina.